Good morning, Your Honor. Otto Beefgrumble, frost bacon right, for the defendant. I'm sorry, I don't have my own desk. Tony Blair, the Prime Minister of England, has been accused of using false information to justify supporting George W. Bush in invading Iraq. Acting on these facts, Mr. Blair decided that it would be in the world's best interest if Saddam Hussein was taken out of power. The information that justified this support was assumed to be true at the time of the decision. It's only natural that Mr. Blair would take these facts that were given to him to be true.
Shot spot! Continue, please, Mr. Beefgrumble.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Blair only did what he believed was the best option. Not only for the protection of his country, but also for the rest of the world. This, gentlemen, is a war on terror. Any precautions that Mr. Blair felt were necessary to take were taken only for the greater good.
The greater good.
Stop. Defense would like to call its first witness, David Cameron, to the stand, please.
I trust you were sworn in, Mr. Cameron?
Of course, Your Honor.
Lovely. You may proceed with the questioning, Mr. Beefgrumble.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cameron, would you say that you have always supported the war in Iraq?
In fact, I have. I voted yes on the war in Iraq when the decision was first being made.
And why did you choose to support the war in Iraq?
Well, I simply think that Saddam Hussein was a threat to his people and the rest of the world. By going to war with him, it would rid us of one of the world's most repressive regimes.
But why did you continue to support Mr. Blair, even after the evidence of weapons of mass destruction was proved to be false?
Well, Mr. Beefgrumble, I believe that you've got to do what you think is right, even if it's unpopular. The only thing that you can do, that's the only thing that you can do. Mr. Blair did what he felt was in the best interest of the world and his country.
Thank you, Mr. Cameron. You're dismissed.
Right. Your next witness, Mr. Beefgrumble?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense calls Sally Curtis-Keeble to the stand next. Don't worry, she's been sworn in as well.
Hello.
Right. Well, Miss Curtis-Keeble, why did you support the war in Iraq?
With or without nuclear capabilities, nobody wanted Saddam Hussein to continue. There's no disagreement about that. Everybody wanted him out of the way.
True enough. Now, why did you vote against the investigation of the war?
Mr. Blair did what he thought was right for the country. No investigation is necessary to justify his reasons.
Thank you, Miss Curtis-Keeble. You may step down. The defense would like to call its next witness, George W. Bush, the President of the United States.
Howdy, Judge, Mr. Buffgrumble.
Mr. President, it's Beefgrumble.
Sorry about that, Mr. Barflubble.
Anyway, Mr. President, why did England go into war with you?
Well, Mr. Bowdumble, they are our allies.
Yes, they are. Now, why did you invade Iraq in the first place?
The people that attacked the United States worked for Al-Qaeda and were linked to Iraq. They underestimated our reaction to this assault.
Of course they did. What information did you get, other than linking the terrorists to Iraq, to justify this invasion?
A lot of things, such as evidence of weapons of mass destruction, preservation of peace, and history calls the United States to action against terrorism.
Do you, care to elaborate, Mr. President?
Well, because there was so much evidence to support the idea that Hussein had these weapons, both the United States and the United Kingdom thought that it would be in the best interest of the world and would prevent the spread of these weapons throughout the Middle East. The responsible thing to do in that situation was to disarm and bring democracy to Iraq.
Who did you believe was in danger?
With the weapons, Iraq would have nuclear capabilities and would be able to attack anyone, including our allies. Not only that, but Saddam was a fascist who slaughtered his own people.
Can you
go into a little more detail about how Hussein treats... Excuse me. Can you go into a little more detail about how Saddam treated his people?
In the Hajj, Saddam killed 80,000 of his people. Then the Anfal campaign, he killed about 100,000 people, mostly women and children. The punishments for prisoners were very extreme, including amputation, branding, beatings, electric shocks, and sometimes death, taking place in torture chambers that were found in police stations and security offices.
Thank you, Mr. President. You may step down.
Happy to help, Mr. Bob.
Dear Lord. I'd like to call the man of the hour himself to the stand if you don't mind, Your Honor.
Not at all, Mr. Beefgrumble. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Blair.
Greetings and salutations.
Mr. Blair, why did you decide that invading Iraq with the United States would be for the greater good?
The greater good. Well, I happened to find Saddam Hussein's regime abhorrent. It threatened every other power in the world. Everyone feared the threat from Saddam Hussein and weapons of mass destruction, chemical, biological, potentially nuclear weapons, compatible capability. That threat is real. We therefore here in Britain stand shoulder to shoulder with our American friends in this hour of tragedy, and we, like them, will not rest until this evil is driven from our world.
Fair enough, but why, even after the facts were shown to be false and people openly disagreed, did you choose to stay in Iraq?
Mr. Beefgrumble, the art of leadership is saying no, not yes. It is very easy to say yes. Some people might not support my decision, but our ally needed help, and the Iraqi people needed help.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. You may step down.
Was that your
I would just like to conclude this session by saying that the charges brought against Mr. Blair are a farce. Forgive me. At the time of the immediate decision, the information that had been given to him justified this choice. When these facts were disproved, a decision to stay in Iraq with the United States Army was valid because Hussein was a dictator who treated his people cruelly. In addition, this endeavor brought democracy, justice, and freedom to the Iraqi people. Thank you for your time.
I rule a funky, crazy, super awesome, happy time dance party. Court is adjourned!